Hello and welcome back to 5 Minute Apps on Thunkable. Today I'm going to be showing you the basics of making a custom color mixer on Thunkable. Now, these custom color mixers, you've definitely come across them in many places before. If you're more into design, it's something similar to a swatch where you could look at your options of colors, go the whole range, and you've definitely used them on Thunkable before or any other no code app development site where you use it to set your screen background, your text color, etc. These can come in really handy in apps where you want the users to have a bit more of personalization available to them. You want them to be able to set a custom app palette, color palette, etc. So let's quickly go through the design of this app, and it's pretty simple. So first we have a label, and the font I've used is standard throughout this entire screen. It's April Fat Face, and the background, as you can see, it's a nice beige, I think you'd call it. It's 227, 221, and 194 for the RGB. And over here you can see I have three sliders because an RGB, it's a code for a particular specific color, and it consists of three components, that is the RGMB, or red, green, and blue. Each of these components has a value that ranges from 0 to 255, which is why each of these sliders has a minimum value of 0 and a maximum value of 255. Each of these sliders has an associated button to display their own individual color when it's changed. So even if I move the green slider around a bit, it won't affect the value that I have in the red slider. And over here you have a generate button, which as it's pretty self-explanatory. It ties the red, green, and blue values together and displays them in this giant display button over here. So the buttons have border thickness of 4, border thickness of 2, a border radius of 4, and it's a solid black border. So for these three small buttons on this big display button over here. So now let's move on to the blocks. It's pretty simple actually. So what we know is that every time each individual slider is moved, then the associated button should display the color without being affected by any other slider or any other button. So we're going to go to slider blue. So when slider blue's value is changed, then we know that we're going to have to um, set the associated button's background color to the RGB with the same value for red and no value for green and blue. So this, I'm going to put this for red, button red. And now we're going to scroll down to the color drawer, and we're going to fetch a handy little RGB block from there. So we know that red, it means the value that the slider has, but green and blue, they just remain zeros. Now you do the same thing for green and blue. Just duplicate it and change the values. And remember to change the block that the value is in, because red now remains 0 and green attains the value that the slider has. Same for blue. Remember to name all your components when you create the app, and as that will help with a lot of confusion. Remove the green remains 0, and blue attains value. Now there's only one step left, and that's when the generate button is clicked. You have to ensure that these three values are tied together and displayed in the giant display button as a unique RGB color. So on the event that the display button is clicked, then we're going to set the display my bad, when the generate button is clicked, then we're going to set the display button's background to a mix of all of these. So we're going to go down to the color drawer again and merge them. So we're going to get the individual values from the three different sliders, and voila, we're done. So I'm going to live test this to demonstrate it to you. As you can see, I've scaled it down to fit, and now I've toggled the red slider, and as you can see, the value is changing. Green one, I'm going to keep it a little brighter, and blue stays there. When you click generate, you get this bright sunny yellow, and I'm going to try this again with a darker red and a blue that's towards the lower end of the RGB scale, and I get this pale summery green. So you can challenge yourself to spice this app up by creating a label to display the RGB code beneath this display button, as well as labels for each of the individual sliders to display their specific RGB values. So I hope this app helped you learn something today, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, and come back for more. Bye bye.